Hey, welcome to another video on why puzzles are so important in chess. Let's begin with this. This is a 1500 puzzle. It's a game that was played between two people whose rating on Lichess was 1900. And if you notice on the right, there's an actual game. And this is the 54th move. And the game is going to end after this move. That's the power of the puzzle here. So you can pause the video and take a moment to think about the solution here. What's the move that will help white win? Sorry, black win, white lose. Because until this moment, if you think about it, white has the slight advantage of one extra pawn. But with this last move, the rook d1, the game ends. Right? Now, I'm more interested in seeing how do we get to this move, because there's 54 moves in the making, right? So let's look at this game. So it starts with d4, e6, knight f3, an exchange of bishops, castle. Okay, now if you look at this position after 10 moves, after the opening is more or less over, it's one minor piece exchange, one pawn exchanged. Black needs to develop the knight. White has some kind of development. Nothing concrete as yet. Nothing has changed as yet. So further, the knights get exchanged. Okay, now if you look at this, right? So this is a move where white is attacking the bishop. Somebody who's a complete beginner who misses the bishop might change the course of the game here itself. So if black doesn't defend its bishop and he loses the bishop, then the game continues, but white is one piece up, right? So being probably an intermediate level, they ensure that pieces don't get lost. So attack on the queen, queen goes back, queen is attacked now, queen moves out. The pawn is pushed, knight back, knights are exchanged. So far, it's kind of 20 moves, probably kind of entry into the middle game. And if you look at it, it's equal, right? 7 pawns. Positionally, black might be a little bit down with a backward pawn on d5, which is right for attack. But otherwise, I would say net equal. So immediately rook comes here. The threat is that bishop takes pawn because it's a pin, so queen has to move out. Now there are other kinds of attacks coming in, so he needs to defend the e5, e4. I mean the e5. It's a d5 pawn. Okay, so the queen went back to f1 to threaten the skewer, so the rook moves out. Queen moves out now. Gets back. And one thing you should notice here is most of these moves are sideways. It's kind of playing around. It's like the goalless middle in a football game, in a soccer game, right? Like you keep passing the ball here and there, you keep threatening, you keep looking for it, but nothing really happens. The excitement of the game is not when the ball gets passed around in soccer, it's actually when the goal happens, right? And that's what most people want to watch, the goal. And the equivalent of the goal in chess is that tactical puzzle. Okay, so as you can see here, this is all working towards setting it up, but it doesn't happen. And then finally the bishop comes here, the bishop's exchanged, the rook moves out, queen check, king moves. And as you can see, at this point, I think is the first mistake from black, where he loses the pawn and decides to anyway pursue the game. So it took about 40 moves for a slight tilt in position, which black being one pawn lesser. But still, there are no inroads made. Black doesn't want to exchange because exchanging would just mean that white has the advantage and he's going to fly away with it. Okay, so if you can see that, that's like a lot of moves that went sideways. Finally, until the point where white blundered. And at this moment, you arrive at the position where the game changes color. It just changes direction after this. And the move, if you haven't figured out yet, is a check. Queen is forced to capture it, capture back with a check, and the rook has no support. And this kind of puzzle is called remove the defender. Okay, so this is an example of pretty much every puzzle that you will see. So first, if you were to do the puzzles in Lichess, which I highly recommend, is that one, these are puzzles taken from actual games, right? It's probably an algorithm which looks at how the game changes due to a particular move, and it picks it up and says, okay, this is the kind of move that you need to determine. It's actually a study of the pivotal moves in a game, right? So now the way I want you to think about is that a game can have sideways moves, which is pretty much moves that just keeps things equal, or moves that can either turn your game positive or your game negative. So positive changes happen when you find tactical combinations like this. Positive changes can also happen because your opponent makes negative things, like he loses a piece deliberately, he has a blind spot. Negative things can happen when you blunder out, which means you lose pieces deliberately, or you fall for a tactical trap. So if you want to win a game, you want to create more positive outcomes. And the positive outcome is going to happen as a result of finding more tactical combos and preventing blunders. And that's all there is about your training. So if you want to get really good at chess, work towards reducing blunders, which means reducing your blind spots, and work towards figuring out tactics. And that's the reason puzzles are so paramount and important in chess. Working on puzzles just allows you to get into positions which you would otherwise not, right? So for example here, what is it that you will have to do? Knight takes knight, and now you have to fall. That's all, right? Being able to see this and identifying every possibility. So for example, it just took 10 moves here. So let's start with this. Knight f6, e6. So a lot of sideways moves until this blunder. Now what if he had decided to take the bishop? You take the knight, and he takes it back, and then you take the bishop and you're still a piece up. Right? So this is a blunder no matter what, because of this particular position. If you identify the position, then you know that this is exactly what you need to do. And if he takes this, that's remove the defender for the bishop, and you'll end up getting the bishop. So no matter what happens, there are 3 different lines, and in all 3 lines you end up getting a piece up, right? So analyzing positions like this is going to make you really good at identifying tactical combos, identifying tactical traps, identifying tactical blunders, identifying positions that actually are pivotal in changing the direction of the game. And the more you see that, the more your brain would be able to identify it in your actual game. Because in the absence of doing tactics, you will actually have to play a game which has 54 moves in it, play a game which has 11 moves in it, just to arrive at this pivotal moment. And this is your simulation. This is how you simulate your way into becoming a better player and having a better result when you play games, either for friendlies or in a tournament. So what is it that you need to do from today? Puzzles, 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 tactics, tactics, tactics. Make it a part of your routine. Train tactics, and that's absolutely important for you to get good at chess. I hope you found this video useful and important and informative. If so, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.